everyone. My name is Sherwood Neese. I am a principal and co-founder at Crowdfund Capital Advisors. We are a consulting and advisory firm that works with government agencies, NGOs, investors, and entrepreneurs on the regulation crowdfunding ecosystem. Regulation crowdfunding got started in May of 2016. It allows startups and small businesses to raise up to $1 million online from investors that are mainly connected to what they're doing. This is taking place all across the United States. As a matter of fact, since this got started, there's been close to $1 billion in online investments that have taken place across multiple exemptions from the Jobs Act in 1,100 cities in over 450 industries. And so we built a database to collect information on all of these offerings. It took us a few years to get to the point where you could start analyzing this data, but we believe we've come to the point in time where we can learn a lot from what's happening inside of the regulation crowdfunding ecosystem. So to this end, we have two amazing analysts here at Crowdfund Capital Advisors. We've got Sophie Dessart and Alex Nagel. And today we are going to be talking with them about what the crowdfunding index that we created that tracks what's happening in this marketplace. So welcome, you guys. It's great to have you with us here. And we're just going to go back and forth and sort of talk about the index that we created and help the people that are watching this learn a little bit about what the index means. So, Sophie, let's just jump in. We have this index, tracks what's going on in the marketplace. What can you tell just by looking at it? Like, put it in the layman's term, what is it that they should be seeing when they look at the index itself?
That's a fantastic question, Woody. So in lay terms, we're looking at how much money is being raised by private US companies raising capital under Rule 506C of Regulation D of the Jobs Act. So in lay terms, that means we're able to get a better understanding of just how much money is being raised every day through crowdfunding by the top companies in the industry. Specifically, the index is telling us the capital raising intensity of the top 50 companies that are getting the highest investments each day. Over time, we can see whether investors are putting more or less money into the market, giving us an idea of investor sentiment and the perceived potential of companies currently raising funds.
Oh, that's fascinating. Alex, what are your thoughts on this index, what it means when you look at it?
Yeah, I think the value produced by the index in the simplest form is the total amount of capital raised on a specific day. Each day you can look at this index. It will provide insights and items such as capital raising intensity, size of investments, and different trends over time with companies and demand in the marketplace for crowdfunding opportunities.
Great. Okay, so now if you both sort of looked at the index itself, it's sort of tough to tell who is leading the index. You have to dig into the data. But what can you guys tell us about, who's currently leading the index? What do they do? What industries they're in? Sophie, do you want to take the first stab at that?
Sure. It's actually fascinating to look at the index and who's leading because it can change day to day. So for instance, if you look at January 4th, 2021, the company that we saw leading was Freelancers, which is actually a company in the entertainment industry that makes a web comedy TV show. And they were looking to raise more money to film more episodes. And then if you go back a couple days to January 1st, you see that the top investment was in this company Move, which is in the food industry and actually has a member-only online gourmet supermarket. So it's really fascinating to see the plethora of companies that are raising funds through crowdfunding.
So it's an index, so it tracks, as you said, the top 50. Alex, does this change? Does this mean that every day there's a new person or a new company that can come to the top of the index? Or have you seen that there's companies that sort of stay at the top? Like, how does this change on a daily basis based on what you see inside the index?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good question. I think from when we overlooking the data, is we do sometimes see a trend that maybe a company, when they bring their offering to the platform, that they might be at the top for a couple consecutive days if it's a hot offering. But the index certainly changes the top 50 companies, week by week, as different opportunities get funded and then new opportunities come available on different platforms.
So 2020 was a crazy year with COVID. It took an economic toll. It killed, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. and we're trying to get back on our feet. But when you look at what's happening within the data and the index itself, it was fascinating that the correlation of COVID to capital commitments was inverse. What did you guys see in terms of the data or what the index is telling us about COVID's impact on capital formation online? Sophie, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, it did seem to have this inverse relationship with COVID. While we did see like the stock market downturn at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, we didn't really see that with this index. We in fact saw the index continue to grow throughout 2020, and we actually saw some of the highest index values falling after the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. So this tells us that while COVID did have an indubitable impact on life as we know it, it didn't stifle the growth of the crowdfunding industry. And in fact, we saw investors even more willing to contribute to crowdfunding campaigns. And this just really ultimately supports the idea that the crowdfunding industry is one to watch in the coming years.
I totally agree with you. Alex, did you have any other different thoughts on COVID's impact, or did you see the same things, or tell us about it from your perspective?
Yeah, no, I agree with Sophie. Unlike most industries in the country that were, strongly affected by the pandemic and COVID-19, as regards to our index and crowdfunding, we saw almost no impact at all. In fact, the values at the beginning of the pandemic and throughout only grew stronger and stronger. So the growth we've seen, from fiscal year 2020 to now, 2021, has been truly remarkable.
Yeah, it's been really fascinating, I think, just to look at that index, see the numbers going up, and wonder why, despite the fact that we have our economy in tatters, parts of Main Street USA are completely disconnected from what's happening on Wall Street, that the numbers keep on going up. So while we're at this point where we're trying to, we've got the vaccine, so we've got a solution, we're getting that distributed around the country. We've got to figure out now, how are we going to help these startups and small businesses across the United States, not just with a Band-Aid, which a lot of the stimulus provides to get, through what's happening right now, but how are we going to recover? And so I think the index is not just an indication of what's happening, but it's a leading indicator for where capital's going, for where investors have interest in what's going on, and for where there's demand from these startups and small businesses to help them survive. So, I think, you can see a lot of this as both of you guys are saying in the index itself. Let's jump on to, another point. Alex, so the index has grown really from, like we were just talking about, from 2019 to 2020, from 2020 to 2021. What do you think this means? Like, what is that telling us? What have you seen in terms of that growth between year to year?
Yeah, so like I said previously, the index has grown year by year, and this past year has been truly crazy. Actually, we're almost consistently seeing index values during this year that are almost twice as high as previously. And I think this is a strong indicator of growth within the crowdfunding industry, including accessibility, availability, and investors bullish on getting involved with some great companies.
Excellent, excellent. Sophie, did you have any thoughts on, the change of the index or the growth of it from year to year?
Well, I completely agree with Alex. Every year we've seen the crowdfunding index grow in size, and that just indicates that the crowdfunding industry as a whole is growing, attracting more and more investors and investment dollars. And ultimately, I would say this is an exciting trend for small businesses and firms that can't access capital through avenues like bank loans, angel investors, or venture capitalists, because it gives them an opportunity to grow their business through crowdfunding. Ultimately, we're witnessing the democratization of the investment industry with crowdfunding.
Wow, that is beautifully said. I don't think I could have put it any better myself. So you guys, thank you so much for taking this time to speak with me. The crowdfunding index is going to be up on our website, and we look forward to other media outlets carrying it as well. If you've got questions related to the crowdfunding index, by all means, reach out to us, and we look forward to expanding on this and providing our analysis on what's going on in the index over time. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.